So hey there, this is Kunal and welcome to yet another video in the series of socket programming. So in the previous video, we discussed how you can send a message from the client to the server and the server replies back. But that was just a one-way communication and the communication was terminating by itself after sending a message. But networking just doesn't conclude with a one-way communication between the client and the server. So in this video, a simple calculator application is implemented wherein the client will send request to server in form of simple arithmetic equation and server will respond back. Hence, in this program, we would be building a client server calculator where the client would be sending one operand which might be either of addition, subtraction, multiplication or division and two operators upon which that operation would be carried out, and the client would be sending these to the server, and then the server would be calculating and returning back the answer to the client where the answer would be printed. So let's look at the server side of code. And as you remember in the previous video, I told that it is required to have two windows running simultaneously in your system, where one window would be running for the server side program and the other one would be running for your client side program. So let us create another window for the client side. On opening the server side code, we have program. I have included all the header files which are required to write this program, and then starting from the main function, I have declared certain variables in line number 11 of the type integer. Then I have declared a variable called operator of character type. Then again three variables of for integer type, and then I have created a socket providing the necessary three parameters and then applying a conditional statement on it, whereas the socket function would return the value to the integer, that is sockfd, and we would be checking whether that sockfd is greater than 0 or not, and if that turns out to be greater than 0, that means we have successfully created a server side socket. Then at line number 17 and 18, I have declared two variables, that is server addr and client addr of the structure type sock underscore addr, and inet underscore addr is a predefined function which is used to convert the IP address of string format into integer format. Then in line number 22, I have initialized a port number of 6006, and as you remember in the previous video, I said that your port number can lie anywhere in the range of 1024 to 65535, because any random port number which is below 1024 is already reserved. So if you want to assign any port number, it has to be within the range of 1024 and 65535. Then after the socket has been created successfully and we have assigned the address and the port number and the IP address, then we would be using the bind function to bind that address to the socket descriptor. So bind function uses three parameters and we print the statement accordingly if the binding is successful. And binding would be successful if the bind function returns 0. Then in line number 28, we have the listen function where it contains two parameters. First is the socket descriptor and second is the number of connections waiting to get connected. So the client uses the connect function to connect to the server side. So it is at the listen function where any number of connections gets in a queue to get accepted. And once the listen function is successful, then we would be using the accept function, where accept function takes in three parameters and we would be applying a conditional statement to check whether accept function has been accepted. the connection request from the client, and once that is successful, we would be printing accept successful. Then, so basically, till this point, every function that we have used till now was there in the previous video as well, was there in the previous program as well. And in this video, I have used two new functions, which is read function and write function, which was not there in the previous video. So basically, read function is used to read what is written on a file descriptor, and write function is used to write any message on the file descriptor. So basically, if a client is sending any message or a file descriptor from its side to the server side, then it would be writing something on the file descriptor, and then it would be using the write function to write anything on that file descriptor which it is sending to the client side, which it is sending to the server side. And the server side, on receiving that message from the client, would be using the read function to read what is written. And the same thing would work for the server side as well, that if the server side wants to send any file or any message to the client, then it would be using the write function to write any message on the file descriptor, and then the client would be using the read function to read what is written. So on the server side, we have three read functions from line number 35 to 37, and it contains three parameters. First is the client file descriptor, client socket descriptor, that is conft. Then second is the variable which is used by the client to send, and third is the size. So the first read function in line number 35 reads what type of operator is sent from the client, that is it is either it might be multiplication, or it might be division, or subtraction, or addition, depending upon the user's choice or depending upon the client's choice in this case. And the next two read functions in line number 36-37 contains two operators, that is two numbers sent by the client. Then from line number 38, I have used the switch statement to code this calculator based program. And as you all remember that in your initial years of coding, while whenever you were given this calculator type of a program, you used either the switch statement or the conditional if else statement. So in this case, I am using the switch statement. You can also use if else statement if you wish. So depending upon the operator that we received from the client, we get into that particular case. So for example, if the type of operator sent by the client is division, so we would be getting into the last case, and then the result would be stored in the result variable, and then we would be printing that result and applying the break statement. After we are done with calculating the equation, we would be writing the answer using the write function, and this function would then be read by the client using the read function. And once this is over, we would be closing this connection using the close function in the server side. So this was it from the server side. Now let us look at the client side. Looking at the client side program, I have included all the header files, and I'll say till line number 24 everything is same, exactly same as that of the server side program. Even the IP address and the port number, which has to be absolutely same, and that is the client IP address and port number should be 100% same as compared to your server side, otherwise the matching won't take place at all. So till line number 24 everything is same in the client side as well. It is only when the client uses the connect function to connect to the server that the server side does not have the connect function, and the connect function takes in three parameters, and the value returned by the connect function would then be stored in the variable that is con, and we would be applying a conditional statement to check whether we have initiated a connection successfully to the socket side, to the server side or not. And we would be printing the message connect successful accordingly. Then we would be asking from the user what type of operator you want to enter. Then the user would be entering either plus, minus, multiplication or division according to his or her size, according to his or her choice. After that, we would be asking the kind of operation that the user wants to carry out, which may be either addition, subtraction, multiplication or division, and the user input will take place, and then we would be entering or requesting two types of operands on which that operation will take place. And once we have written all the right functions, and this message would be sent to the server side. Then the server would be solving the equation and returning back the answer, and using the read function in line number 37 we would be reading what the server side has sent as an answer. So using the read function, the client side reads what is written on the file descriptor sent by the server in the form of that answer. Then we would be printing what the answer really is, and we would be closing the client side code or the client side program as well using the close function. So this was it from the client side program as well. Now we would be compiling our program, and as you remember, one must not ever mess with the order of compiling, and we must always first compile the server side program. So on compiling the server side and then the client side program, and on compiling the server side program, we have no errors, and then we would be executing it. So we have received the message saying socket has been created successfully, the binding has been carried out successfully, and the listen function has also been used successfully. Then going to the client side, we would be compiling the client side code as well. Then client.c, and on executing the client side code, we have the message saying socket has been created successfully, connect successful, and then it asks from the user to enter the kind of operation that we want to carry out. So in my case, I would be using the multiplication operator. You can use either of any of these four. So on entering the multiplication operator, I would be asked to enter the two numbers. So the first number would be 7 and the second number would be, let's say, 5. So the output should be 7 into 5, that is 35. So as you can see on the server side, we have a message saying the result is 7 into 5, that is 35. And on the client side, operation result from server is 35. So as you can see, we have successfully created the client server calculator application using the TCP/IP model, and this operation was successful. So this was it for this video, and in the next video we would be seeing how you can send arrays from the client to the server, and then the server will apply a sorting algorithm on it and then returning back the sorted array to the client. So that would be for the next video, and as far as this video is concerned, this is it. So thank you.